everyone, it's Firefighter Z from the North Reading Fire Department. I want everyone to know that I've been thinking about you over these past few days. What better time for us and our families to check our smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors to make sure that they're working properly and that we're safe and we're sound. But I want to go up and beyond that. I want to call it the Smoke Detector Carbon Monoxide Community Challenge. Take a few minutes with your family. Test your smoke detectors. Test your carbon monoxide detectors. And when you've completed that, send it to a friend. Send it to a family member. And challenge them to do the same thing. Together as a community, we can make a difference. Today, I wanted to take a little time to reach out to all my little friends at the schools. I want to take the time to read a book and share a moment with you and let you know you've been in my mind and I'm thinking of you. Today's book is Bears Make the Best Reading Buddies by Carmen Oliver and illustrated by Jean Claude. At the beginning of the school year, Mrs. Fitzp assigned reading buddies, but Adelaide didn't need one. She already had her own. Don't be scared, Adelaide coaxed. Come in. Wait, Adelaide said. Bears make the best reading buddies, and I'll tell you why. Bears know how to sniff out a good book with their super-powered snouts. They're wild about adventures and mysteries and fairy tales. They know how to build peaceful places where no one bothers you while you read. They sit side by side, knee to knee, and put the book between you so you both can see. Bears listen with their super sensitive ears while you sound out the words. And if you get frustrated, they wrap you up in warm bear hugs. Oh, and their claws are perfect page flipping tools. Most of the time. Rip! Looks like you tore that page, everyone. But don't worry. They always carry a spare jar of honey for making repairs. Bears know you never run away from hard-to-pronounce words. They challenge you to look at the pictures and chew over the possibilities. And when you get it right, they stand on their hind legs and roar, so you'll keep going. Finally, when you come to the end of your book, bears are always hungry for more, especially books about salmon fishing and berry picking. Bears know that once you get a taste for books, you'll discover trail after trail of adventure and clamber to new heights. And that is why bears make the very best reading buddies, Adelaide finished. Well, don't just stand there, Adelaide, said Mrs. Fitzp. Show that bear in. And Adelaide brought her bear friend in. I'll read to you, Adelaide said, then you can read to me. What a nice looking group of buddies they are. And when Adelaide started to read, Bear burrowed in and got lost in the story. The end. Well, boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed the story of the day. I'm going to continue reaching out and sending more videos. And one important thing I want to share with you, make sure that you and your families check your smoke and carbon monoxide detectors to make sure all of you are safe. This is Firefighter Z from the North Reading Fire Department in collaboration with the Flint Memorial Library, wishing everyone a safe and happy, healthy day.
Charlie Moore here, the Mad Fisherman. Today I'm going to be reading for the Flint Memorial Library in North Reading, Massachusetts. I had the chance to visit you guys before and we had a wonderful time, so that's why I'm doing this for you today. Today I'll be reading you Make Way for Ducklings, a fan favorite actually. This book was given to my kids by their grandparents, and it's obviously a traditional book that most of us know. Mr. and Mrs. Mallard were looking for a place to live, but every time Mr. Mallard saw what looked to be a nice place, Mrs. Mallard said it was no good. Typical. There was sure to be foxes in the woods or turtles in the water, and she was not going to raise a family where there might be foxes or turtles, so they flew on. Like always, the women are usually right. When they got to Boston, they felt too tired to fly any further. There was a nice pond in the public garden with a little island on it. The very place to spend the night, quacked Mr. Mallard. So they did. There's the island, see? Right there. Yeah, it's a nice place. I could hang my hat there for sure, you know what I mean? Next morning, they finished their breakfast. I wonder what ducks eat for breakfast. You know what ducks eat for breakfast? What do you think? A couple eggs over easy, maybe some toast, ham. Anyway, next morning, the birds finished their breakfast in the mud at the bottom of the pond. But they didn't find much. So they're looking for eggs. I'm not sure if they're duck eggs or not, but they're eggs. Just as they were getting ready to start on their way, a strange, enormous bird came by. It was pushing a boat full of people. And there was a man sitting on the back. "Good morning," quacked Mr. Mallard. Being polite, the big bird was too proud to answer. But the people on the boat threw peanuts into the water. So the Mallards followed them all the way and they followed them all around the pond and got another breakfast. Better than the first. See, that must be English, right? When they go, it says right here, I'll reread that line, right? But the people on the boat threw peanuts into the water. So the Mallards followed them all around. See, that's English, all around. You know, in Boston we say they follow them all around. It's normal. Doesn't make any sense. That should be a rewrite, but I'm not, I'm just here to read to you guys. I'm not here to tell you how to pronounce it, because God knows I don't know. "I like this place," says Mrs. Mallard, as they climbed out on the bank and waddled along. "Why don't we build a nest and raise our ducklings right in this pond? There are no foxes and no turtles, and the people feed us peanuts. What could be better?" "Good," said Mr. Mallard, delighted that at last Mrs. Mallard had found a place that suited her. But, "Look out," squawked Mrs. Mallard, all of a ditcher. "You got run over." And when she got her breath, she said, "This is no place for babies with all those horrid things rushing about. We'll have to look somewhere else." Well, kid riding his bike, say? Kid riding his bike, and there's Mr. and Mrs. Mallard almost getting run over. Yeah, that's not good. No. So they flew over Beacon Hill and round the State House. But there was no place there because there's no affordable housing there. It's just very expensive. Beacon Hill is like, I can't even live there, and I'm pretty well off. This is horrible. They looked in Lewisburg Square, but there was no water to swim in. Yeah, because ducks need water, you know what I mean? They don't want to be around water. Ducks need the waterfront property, ocean front, nice pond front. Then they flew over the Charles River. See, Charles River. This is better, quacked Mr. Mallard. That island looks like a nice, quiet place, and it's only a little way from the public garden. Yeah, said Mrs. Mallard, remembering the peanuts. That looks like just the right place to hatch ducklings. See, over the Charles River over there. Oh my God, look, there I am. I'm right there. I'm fishing right there. There's me. I caught a nice fish there. Charles River's nice. It's definitely a nice place to fish and visit. If you haven't gone, you must. So they chose a cozy spot among the bushes near the water and settled down to build their nest. And only just in time, for now they were beginning to molt. All their old wing feathers started to drop out, and they would not be able to fly again until the new ones grew in. Interesting. But of course they could swim, and one day they swam over to the park on the river bank, and they were met by a policeman called Michael. Michael fed them peanuts, and after the Mallards called on Michael every day. Those were the good old days when the cops would feed you peanuts. Now they just arrest you for disorderly conduct. After Mrs. Mallard had laid 8 eggs in the nest, she couldn't go visit Michael anymore because she had to sit on the eggs to keep them warm. She moved off the nest only to get a drink of water or have her lunch, or to count the eggs to make sure there were still 8. Smart. Good mom, good mom. One day the ducklings hatched out. First came Jack, then came Cack, then came Lack, then came Mack, and Knack, and Quack, and Pack. Mr. and Mrs. Mallard were bursting with pride. It was a great responsibility taking care of so many ducklings. It kept them very busy. She taught them how to swim and dive. Swimming and diving. Look at them, swimming and diving. Yep. Mother teaching the quacks how to swim and dive. She taught them to walk in a line, to come when they were called, and to keep a safe distance from bikes and scooters and other things with wheels. See, even the ducks practice social distancing. When at last she felt perfectly satisfied with them, she said one morning, "Come along, children, follow me." Before you could wink an eyelash, Jack, Clack, Lack, Mack, Knack, Quack, Pack, and Quack fell into line, just as they had been taught. Mrs. Mallard led the way into the water, and they swam behind her to the opposite bank. There they waded ashore and waddled along till they came to the highway. Mrs. Mallard stepped out to cross the road. Honk, honk, went the horns on the speeding cars. Quack, went Mrs. Mallard as she tumbled back again. Quack, 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 went Jack, Lack, Lack, Mack, Knack, Quack, Pack, Quack, just as loud as the little quackers could quack. The cars kept speeding by and honking, and Mrs. Mallard and the ducklings kept right on quacking, quacking, quack, 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 quack. That's what they were doing. They were quacking. They made such a noise that Michael, the police officer, came running with his arms and blowing his whistle. He planted himself in the center of the road, raised one hand, and stopped the traffic. And then he backed in the other, the way a policeman do, for Mrs. Mallard to cross over. As soon as Mrs. Mallard and the ducklings were safe on the other side and on their way down Mount Vernon Street, Michael rushed back to his police booth. You don't want to get in trouble, Michael. Come on. He called Clancy at headquarters and said, "There's a family of ducks walking down the street," Clancy said. "Family of what?" "Ducks," yelled Michael. "Ducks, ducks." "Send a police car. Send a police car quick," Michael said. See, he's calling. He's calling headquarters. He's calling headquarters right there. Meanwhile, Mrs. Mallard had reached the corner bookshop and turned into Charles Street with Jack, Cack, Lack, Mack, Knack, ow, 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 ack, quack, pack, quack, all marching in line behind her. Everyone stared. Everyone stared. An old lady from Beacon Hill said, "Isn't this amazing?" And the man who swept the street said, "Well now, ain't that nice?" And when Mrs. Mallard heard them, she was so proud she tipped her nose in the air and walked along with a little extra swing in her waddle. I do that all the time. She's walking around. Look, she's all proud of her kids. She's a happy quack. When they came to the corner of Beacon Street, there was the police car with 4 policemen that Clancy had sent from headquarters. The policemen held back the traffic so Mrs. Mallard and the ducklings could march across the street. Nice police officers. Inside the gate, they all turned around to say thank you to the policemen. The policemen smiled and waved, "Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye." When they reached the pond and swam across to the little island, there was Mr. Mallard waiting for them, just as he had promised. The ducklings liked the new island so much that they decided to live there. All day long, they follow the swan boats and, well, eat peanuts. That's a good life. And when night falls, they swim to their little island and go to sleep. There they are. The end. So there you have it. Make Way for Ducklings, a classic book. You know, it's based out of Boston, and I thought that you would enjoy it. You know, it's funny. I'll give you one little thing I have to tell you before I go. Nowadays, with all the technology and the new stuff that we have and everything else, there's no more hard copy books. Sometimes books are best read like this, whether they're given to you by the grandparents, in this case, for my kids, and the tradition passes on, and they write something in it, as it says right here. Love Nono and Nono to Nicholas. So it's important, I think, sometimes to go back with the classics and read it the way that we all read it as kids. So hope you enjoyed Make Way for Ducklings. I'm the Mad Fisherman, and keep reading.
Hi there. My name's Owen King, and I'm a writer. And my friend Sharon at the North Reading Flint Memorial Library asked me to read a book to you guys, and that's what I'm going to do. Let's see what's behind me there. Oh, it's just a lamp. Nothing to be concerned about. Okay, so I'm going to read you It's a Secret by John Birmingham, and it's a book about magic cats, and all cats are magic, but especially my cats, and it's entirely possible that as I read you this book, I see one of my cats over there, that they will decide to visit us. No promises, but it could very well happen. Okay, so It's a Secret, John Birmingham. Just a little bit. So what I do is I read the book and then I show the pictures. So here we go. Here's the title page. It's the girl is holding her cat. Don't hold your cat like that. I hate that. Okay. In Marie Elaine's house, they had a cat whose name was Malcolm. Every night Malcolm went out, and every morning he came back in. During the day, Malcolm slept a lot of the time. Where do cats go at night? Marie Elaine asked. I don't know, said Marie Elaine's mother. They just go outside somewhere. There's Malcolm. One evening in the summer, Marie Elaine came down to the kitchen to get a cold drink from the fridge. There, by the cat door, was Malcolm the cat. And he was all dressed up in fancy clothes and a hat. Here's Malcolm in his amazing hat. Why are you going out? Why are you all dressed up like that, and where are you going? Asked Marie-Elaine. I'm going to a party, said Malcolm, but I can't say where because it's a secret. Oh, please, please let me come with you. I'll keep your secret. Please, please let me come, said Marie-Elaine. Malcolm thought for a moment and then said, all right, but you can't come like that. You'll have to put on something that's right for a party. There she is. Okay. Marie-Elaine raced up to her room and put on her party dress. That's all right, I suppose, said Malcolm, but you'll have to get small. Marie-Elaine got small, and they went out of the house through the cat door. This is my favorite picture in the book. I love the way that they get small and go through the cat door. Now, little Norman Kowalski was not asleep. He was looking out the window and saw Marie-Elaine and Malcolm. I see you, said Norman. Where are you going, and why are you small? We're going to a party in any way. It's a secret, said Marie-Elaine. Let me come, said Norman, or I'll tell. Oh, all right then, said Malcolm, but you must hurry. The party is starting soon, and we have to get past the dogs. There's Norman. Here's the dogs. To be honest, they don't look all that scary. They rounded the corner and suddenly the dogs started to chase them. They ran as fast as they could and just managed to get to a fire escape. They rushed up the stairs, and although the dogs came after them, dogs are a bit scarier here. This dog has his teeth. Scary. The dogs came after them. Malcolm knew a way where the dogs wouldn't follow. Of course, here's the dogs. They're on top of one building, but Malcolm and Marie-Elaine and Norman are all up here. They've gone up, and they have avoided the dogs. Now here they are, coming down this rope. Finally, they arrived at the place on the rooftops where the party was about to start. And there's this cat handing out balloons, which is very nice. There were lots and lots of cats, and some had come from a long way away. The cats were very friendly to Marie-Elaine and Norman. They danced with them and let them join in their party games. Suddenly, all the cats became quiet. All you could hear was them whispering, "She's coming, she's coming." It was the Queen of the Cats. There's the Queen of the Cats. They're pointing at her. They had a delicious midnight feast. After the feast, the Queen gave everyone presents to take home. Marie-Elaine was given a little doll, which was a kitten, and Norman was given a toy mouse. Suddenly the Queen said, "Look at the time. The party must end. It will be light soon." Nobody wanted the party to end. No one wanted to go home. cats all waved goodbye and set off in different directions. See the sun coming up, I guess. Malcolm showed Marie Elaine and Norman the way back home over the rooftops. When we go down the fire escape, we must be very quiet because of the dogs, Malcolm said. There's the Queen waving, I think, her handkerchief at them. There they are, going home. They went very quietly past the dogs, who were asleep. Then they hurried home as fast as they could go. When Marie Elaine got back to her house, she was very tired and fell asleep on the sofa. In the morning, her mother was surprised to see her downstairs. "You look as if you were out all night with the cat," she said. "I was," said Marie Elaine, "and now I know where he goes at night. But I can't tell you because it's a secret." There's Malcolm. And there's Malcolm going out the cat door. And that's the book. I hope you liked it. It's a Secret by John Birmingham.
Hi, my name is Jenn Ford. I'm the Director of Youth Services, and I'm very excited that my friends at Flint Memorial Library have asked me to read you a few books. So we're going to start with Ordinary Mary's Extraordinary Deed. It is written by Emily Pearson and illustrated by Fumi Kosaka. Ordinary Mary was so very ordinary that you'd never guess she could change the world. This ordinary kid, she changed the world? Yep, just like you can. One ordinary day, skipping on her way from her ordinary school to her ordinary house, she passed an ordinary vacant lot filled with ordinary bushes growing ordinary berries, ordinary blue and juicy, luscious, lovely berries. Well, Ordinary Mary picked the ordinary berries and brought them in a big brown bowl to Mrs. Bishop's porch. What? Left berries in a big brown bowl on Mrs. Bishop's porch? That sneaky kid. She did. This made Mrs. Bishop very, very happy. So she baked a big batch of blueberry muffins and thought of 5 people who might have brought those beautiful berries, then secretly gave each a plate. How great. 5 people got a plate. One of those 5 was her paperboy, Billy Parker, and when Billy saw his name on a note in the driveway on a plate, he quickly parked his bike and ate every crumb. Oh, yum, 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 he ate every crumb. This made him so glad that the next 5 people got their papers on the porch and not in the bushes where he often threw them. In fact, they were handed right to them. One of those 5 was Mr. Maury, who was so amazed that he smiled for 10 hours on the airplane, then said to 5 different people who had heavy bags, "Here, let me help you." He still smiled, and they did too. One of those 5 was Mario, whose cranky little boy James stopped crying when Mr. Maury played peekaboo with him until their ride came. When they waved goodbye, Mario exclaimed, "How strange that a stranger would be so kind." And the next day, when he was out shopping, once, twice, 5 times he did something nice for 5 different people. 5 times without stopping. One of those 5 was Joseph, old and bent and gray, in front of him in line at the produce stand. When he said, "I guess I counted wrong. I don't really need these oranges." Little James reached out to him with an orange from their basket, and Mario put a coin in Joseph's hand and said, "Here, take this. The oranges are on us. As Joseph shuffled to the bus, his heart was full and his eyes were wet, and his hands did helpful things for the next 5 people that he met. One of those 5 was Sahar, a college girl who was off to see the world and stopped at Joseph's shop. When her bag broke and her things fell all over the floor, she said, "Oh, what will I do?" Joseph said, "This is for you," and he gave her a new bag woven with his own hands in red and purple and green. "Oh, thank you," she said. "It's the loveliest bag I've ever seen." When Sahar left, she felt sunny as noon, and she had just had to shine on 5 people soon. One of those 5 was Sophia, whom she met on a boat, looking like the world might end, looking like someone without a friend. "What beautiful blue eyes you have," Sahar said. "And they're just like the color of the flowers in your lovely dress." "Yes," said Sophia. "Oh, yes," said Sahar. The beautiful blue eyes shed a happy tear, and when the boat trip was through, Sophia called 5 people to make them happy too. One of those 5 was Tom, her son, the doctor, who was having a very hard day. "Hi," she said. "I love you, Tom." "Well, how great to hear your voice," he said. "I always need my mom." Dr. Tom was so cheered up that on his next break, he bought a big bunch of bright balloons for 5 young patients, and he handed them out right then and there. One of those 5 was Peter, a little boy who went home from the hospital that very day. Gratitude for the big bunch of bright balloons filled him and thrilled him and spilled out of him and onto the next 5 people who came his way. One of those 5 was Eric, a teenage boy whose sacks and such were way too much. When one dropped on the sidewalk, Peter stopped his play and rushed right over, saying, "Super wheels to the rescue." Well, Eric no longer stressed and was very impressed and made a mental note that very afternoon to help 5 people and to do it soon. One of those 5 was Di, his 10-year-old sister who didn't have many friends and was painfully shy. When Eric said, "Hey sis, want to come to the park and learn how to ride my skateboard?" She looked at him wide-eyed. "Serious?" she cried. "Sure," he said, and because of her brother, Di decided maybe she could be a friend to another 5 others. One of those 5 was Louise, a homeless woman who lived under the trees. She could hardly believe her ears when she heard Di say, "May my brother and I buy you a hot dog and a drink at that stand over there?" Could it be true? Someone actually cared? Cared enough to give her food and a smiley face ring that was practically new? Louise was so pleased that she decided that even though she had nothing, she would find 5 others and give them something. One of those 5 was Amara, who lost her wallet in the park. Louise found it full of 5s and 10s and 20s. Oh, what she could do with all that money, but she found Amara's name and called her home, and over she came. Amara was so impressed that Louise was honest when money was something she clearly needed, that she offered her a job in her store and vowed to do something generous for 5 people or more. One of those 5 was Kate, a woman on vacation who wanted to see a show she'd heard was a sensation. "Oh no," she cried, "it's sold out. But I'm going home tomorrow," and her face filled with sorrow. Amara held out her ticket. "I live here," she said. "I can go anytime. Take mine." Kate loved the show and was so touched that she thought buying 5 presents for 5 people back home would really be fun. And one of those 5 presents was a little heart necklace for Mary, her niece, and you should have seen her eyes light up in surprise. Mary? What? Ordinary Mary? Yes, ordinary Mary's extraordinary deed had come full circle. And on its way, it had changed the lives of every person living. You see, when Mrs. Bishop made muffins from Mary's blueberries, not only the paperboy Billy Parker, but the other 4 people, too, made 5 people smile, and those 5 did too. And after a while, in only 16 days, love was sent to every person everywhere. Just see how it went. started with Mary and 5, 25, 125, all the way down to 30,517,578,125. So many people. Well, 30 billion is way more than all of the people on the planet. So after everyone had a share and everybody knew that somebody cared, there was even love left over. The world was changed and thousands and billions agreed it was all because one ordinary day, ordinary Mary did a perfectly ordinary, stunningly earth-shaking, totally extraordinary deed. The end. Perfect example of how ordinary Mary made a difference and changed the world, just like you can. So the next book is We Are Family, and it is written by Patricia Haggerty and illustrated by Ryan Wheatcroft. Cool things about families, they're all different shapes and sizes, and it's really about who we love and who we care about and who cares about us. Wherever we are, whatever the weather, families always stick together. Through thick and thin, happy and sad, we're there for each other in good times and bad. Mornings are busy, we hurry about, rushing backward and forward before we go out. We might eat at the table, on our laps or a tray, spending time together before starting our day. When it's time for school, we dash out the door, eager to find out what the day has in store. Our journeys are different by bus, bike, or car, but family is with us wherever we are. When we feel sick and stay in our beds, family is there to soothe aching heads. They'll comfort and nurse us and take special care, and we'll be so thankful our loved ones are there. We may go on vacation or have happy fun days out. Doing things together is what family is about. The beach, the park, the countryside, any special place, we'll kick a ball, fly a kite, or play a game of chase. Sounds fun. If ever bad things happen, they happen to us all. A fire, a flood, an illness, disappointment, or a fall. We'll cope with it together, a family as one, until the clouds have lifted and we can see the sun. Families are loving, so strong and kind and caring. We're there for one another, problems are for sharing. We handle things together, we feel each other's pain. Family is the silver lining, the sunshine after the rain. When the day is over and we're tucked right in our beds, all kinds of happy thoughts fill our sleepy heads. After goodnight kisses with family all around, we drift off to dreamland, loved, safe, and sound. The end. 2 great books about really important things, ways we can make a difference and change the world, and family. Thank you so much for coming. Be well and hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Well, hi everyone. I'm Dr. Daly, and this is a book I'd like to read. My son Oliver, who is just turned 5, loves this book, and it's a great one that I want to share with you. It's called Sticks. It's written and illustrated by Diane Alber. I'm going to read this one to you today. The story begins on a hot summer day with a cold, tasty treat, began melting away. It was so very hot, and it happened so quick. What once was a popsicle now was a stained stick. Deep in a puddle that was getting quite sticky, this sad little stick cried and felt rather icky. I should not have gone out when it was so hot. I was sweet and amazing, and now I am not. What can I do? This has all gone so wrong. I'm just a plain stick. Oh, where do I belong? Then Stick heard a voice from way up in a tree. Hello down there, you can come hang out with me. I couldn't help hearing what you have been through. My name is Twig, and I'm made of wood too. Please do not cry, and just listen to me. Before being a popsicle, you are part of a tree. There's so much in this world for you to explore. You will get through this and be more than before. Twig quickly jumped down from the very tall tree and said, Stick, there is something I'd like you to see. Sometimes things happen and the reasons aren't clear, but give it some time and the answers will appear. She knew her friend Pencil could draw something grand. Hopefully he could help Stick understand. I was once a stick too and nothing much more, but then one special day I got a gray core, and I don't know how it happened. So I swirled a nice line, and then I discovered I'd made a design. Can't you see? I'm just a stained stick. My only talent was melting too quick. I cannot draw or do a fun trick. I'll always be just an icky, sticky stick. Twig knew she needed to show Stick even more, something amazing that he could not ignore. So they went to see Brush and was once lost too, but now he could paint with red, yellow, and blue. Brush was a plain stick and nothing much more, but one special day he got bristles galore. Look at him now, look at all he can do. He easily made that fun splatter crew. It is true what Twig said, I was once just like you, but please don't be afraid to try something new. I know you are scared, I can tell by your face, but it might take some time to find your right place. Can't you see? I'm just a stained stick. My only talent was melting too quick. I cannot paint or do fun tricks. I'll always be just an icky, sticky stick. Listen to me, you are pretty great. Don't say I can't, say I can and celebrate. You know I have not been a plain stick before. You have the chance now to be something much more. Twig saw that Stick was still very upset, so she thought they should go back to where they first met. Back at the sweet puddle of sugary goo, Twig thought Stick might find a good clue. Then Twig looked up. It's been there all along. That little stick house could be where you belong. Twig was excited. She ran up the tree and shouted to Stick, Hurry up, follow me. Stick couldn't believe Twig had climbed up so high. I've never climbed a tree and I'm afraid, too scared to try. Just then a bluebird flew down to the ground and lifted the stick up without making a sound. The bird placed him gently in the last open space. Finally, Stick had found his new happy place. This is where I belong, but I can make art in a tree. It was quite a journey, but I'm glad to be me. Stick never forgot that one hot summer day and was glad that his popsicle melted away. He had made some true friends and a beautiful tree art and learned it's never too late to have a fresh start. And then there's some really cool things for extended learning and how to make a bird's nest. This is a really cool book and it teaches you how to do some pretty neat things with old popsicle sticks. So that's a book that I really enjoy. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Jeff Deaver. I write detective stories, but I also love poetry. And what I thought I'd do today is read you a poem from one of my favorite writers, Dr. Seuss, whom you may very well have heard of. The poem I'm going to be reading is called The Sleep Book, and you can read it any time of day or night you like, but I think it's kind of fun to read or listen to just before you go to bed. I hope you enjoy it. The news just came in from the county of Keck that a very small bug by the name of Van Vleck is yawning so wide you can look down his neck. This may not seem very important, I know, but it is, so I'm bothering telling you so. A yawn is quite catching, you see, like a cough. It just takes one yawn to start other yawns off. Now the news has come in that some friends of Van Vleck's are yawning so wide you can look down their necks. At this moment right now, under 7 more noses, great yawns are in blossom. They're blooming like roses. The yawn of that one little bug is still spreading. According to latest reports, it is heading across the wide fields, through the sleepy night air, across the whole country, toward every which where. And people are gradually starting to say, I feel rather drowsy. I've had quite the day. Creatures are starting to think about rest. 2 bifferbam birds are now building their nest. They do it each night, and I quite often wonder how they do this big job without making a blunder. But that is their problem, not yours, and not mine. The point is, they're going to bed, and that's fine. Sleep thoughts are spreading throughout the whole land. The time for night brushing of teeth is at hand. Up in Herkheimer Falls, where the great river rushes and crashes down crags in great gargling gushes, the Herkheimer sisters are using their brushes. These falls are just grand for tooth brushing beneath, if you happen to be up that way with your teeth. The news just came in from the castle of Krupp that the lights are all out and the drawbridge is up. And the old drawbridge drawer just said with a yawn, My drawbridge is drawn, and it's going to stay drawn till the milkman delivers the milk about dawn. I'm going to bed now, so nobody better come round with a special delivery letter. The number of sleepers is steadily growing. Bed is where more and more people are going. In Culpeper Springs, in the Stilt Walkers' Hall, the Stilt Walkers' stilts are all stacked on the wall. The Stilt Walker walkers have called to today. They're all tuckered out, and they're snoozing away. This is very big news. It's important to know, and that's why I'm bothering telling you so. Way out in the west, in the town of Merced, the Hinklehorn Honking Club just went to bed. Every horn has been quietly hung on a hook for the night in its own private Hinklehorn nook. All this long, long happy day they've been honking about, and the Hinklehorn honkers have honked themselves out. But they'll wake up quite fresh in the morning, and then they'll start right out in Hinklehorn honking again. Everywhere creatures are falling asleep. The collapsible frink just collapsed in a heap. And by adding the frink to the others before, I'm able to give you the Who's Asleep score. Right now, 40,404 creatures are happily, deeply in slumber. I think you'll agree that's a whopping fine number. Counting up sleepers, just how do we do it? Really quite simple, there's nothing much to it. We find out how many, we learn the amount by an audio-teleo-tallyo count. On a mountain halfway between Reno and Rome, we have a machine in a plexiglass dome, which listens and looks into everyone's home, and whenever it sees a new sleeper go flop, it jiggles and lets a new biggle ball drop. Our chap counts these balls as they plop in a cup, and that's how we know who is down and who's up. Do you talk in your sleep? It's a wonderful sport, and I have some news on this sport to report. The world champion sleep talkers, Joe and Mo Redzoff, have just gone to sleep and they're talking their heads off. For 55 years now, each chatting brother has babbled and gabbled all night to the other. They've talked about laws and they've talked about gauze. They've talked about paws and they've talked about flaws. They've talked quite a lot about old Santa Claus. And the reason I'm telling you this is because you should take up this sport. It's just fine for the jaws. Sleepwalking, too, are the curious crandalls who sleepwalk on hills with assorted-sized candles. The crandalls walk nightly in slumbering peace, in spite of slight burns from the hot dripping grease. The crandalls wear candles because they walk far, and if they wake up, want to see where they are. Now the news has arrived from the Valley of Vale that a Chippendale mup has just bitten his tail, which he does every night before shutting his eyes. Such nipping sounds silly, but really it's wise. He has no alarm clock, so this is the way he makes sure that he'll wake at the right time every day. His tail is so long he won't feel any pain till the nip makes the trip and gets up to his brain. It's exactly 8 hours the Chippendale mup will at last feel the bite and yell ouch and wake up. A Mr. and Mrs. J. Carmichael Crocs have just gone to bed near the town of Fort Knox, and they, by the way, have the finest of clocks. I'm not at all sure that I quite understand just how the thing works with that one extra hand, but I do know this clock does one very slick trick. It doesn't tick-tock. How it goes is tock-tick. So with ticks in its tocker and tocks in its ticker, it saves lots of time and the sleepers sleep quicker. What a fine night for sleeping! From all that I hear, it's the best night for sleeping in many a year. They're even asleep in the Zwieback Motel, and people don't usually sleep there too well. The beds are like rocks, and as everyone knows, the sheets are too short. They won't cover your toes. So if people are actually sleeping in there, it's a great night for sleeping. It must be in the air. It's a great night for snores. I just had a report of some boys who are tops in this musical sport. The snortiest snorers in all the fair land are Snorter McPhail and his Snorer Snort Band. This band can snort Dixie and Old Swanee River so loud it would make 40 elephants shiver. The loudest of all of the boys is McPhail. He snores with his head in a 3-gallon pail. So they snore in a cave 20 miles out of town. If they snored any closer, they would snore the town down. Do you know who's asleep out in Funa Laguna? 2 very nice Funa Laguna baboona. We've added them into our Who's Asleep count, which has grown to a really amazing amount. Exactly 8,808 creatures are sleeping now. Isn't that great? A Jed is in bed, and the bed of a Jed is the softest of beds in the world, it is said. He makes it from pom-poms that he grows on his head, and he's sleeping right now on the softest of fluff, completely exhausted from growing the stuff. The news has come in from the district of Doft that 2 oft are asleep and they're sleeping aloft. And how are they able to sleep off the ground? I'll tell you. I weighed one last week and I found that an oft is so light he weighs minus 1 pound. A moose is asleep. He's dreaming of moose drinks. A goose is asleep. He is dreaming of goose drinks. That's well and good when a moose dreams of moose juice, and nothing goes wrong when a goose dreams of goose juice. But it isn't too good when a moose and a goose start dreaming they're drinking the other one's juice. Moose juice, not goose juice, is juice for the moose, and goose juice, not moose juice, is juice for the goose. So when goose gets a mouthful of juices of mooses, and moose gets a mouthful of juices of gooses, they all fall out of bed screaming screams. So I'm warning you now, never drink in your dreams. Speaking of dreaming, I think you should know that the Bumbletub Club is now dreaming afloat. Every night they go dreaming down Bumbletub Creek, except for one night every third or fourth week when they stop for repairs because their Bumbletubs leak. But tonight they're afloat, full of dreams, full of bliss, and that's why I'm bothering telling you this. At a fork in the road in the Vale of Vavode, 5 weary salesmen have laid down their load. All day they've raced round in the heat at top speeds, unsuccessfully trying to sell zizazoof seeds, which nobody wants because nobody needs. Tomorrow will come, they'll go back to their chore, they'll start on the road, zizzooning once more. But tonight they've forgotten their feet are so sore, and that's what the wonderful nighttime is for. Everywhere creatures have shut off their voices. They've all gone to bed in the beds of their choices. They're sleeping in bushes, they're sleeping in crannies, some on their stomachs, some on their fannies. They're peacefully sleeping in comfortable holes, some even on soft-tufted barbershop poles. The number of sleepers is now past the millions. The number of sleepers is now in the millions. They're sleeping on steps and on strings and on floors, in mailboxes, ships, and the keyholes of doors. Every worm on a fishhook is safe for the night. Every fish in the sea is too sleepy to bite. Every whale in the ocean has turned off its spout. Every light between here and Farfoodle is out. And now, adding things up, we are way beyond billions. Our Who's Asleep score is now up in the zillions. 99 zillion, 9 trillion and 2 creatures are sleeping, so how about you? When you put out your light, then the number will be 99 zillion, 9 trillion and 3. Well, good night, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this poem.
Hi everyone, this is Detective Paul Lucci from the North Reading Police Department, your school resource officer for the schools. I myself and the library are joining together for story time, and right now I'm going to read Officer Buckle and Gloria by Peggy Rathman. This is a great story, one of my favorites. Alright, Officer Buckle knew more safety tips than anyone in Napville. Every time he thought of a new one, he thumbtacked it to his bulletin board. Safety tip number 77, never stand on a swivel chair. Very cool. Officer Buckle shared his safety tips with the students of Napville. Nobody ever listened. Sometimes there was snoring. Look at that. Everyone's snoring. After, it was business as usual. Miss Topple, the principal, took down the welcome banner. Never stand on a swivel chair, said Officer Buckle, but Miss Topple didn't hear him. Then one day, Napville Police Department bought a police dog named Gloria. When it was time for Officer Buckle to give the safety speech at school, Gloria went along. Check that out, Gloria in the canine car. Very cool. Children, this is Gloria, announced Officer Buckle. Gloria obeys my commands. Gloria, sit. And Gloria sat. Officer Buckle gave safety tip number 1. Keep your shoelaces tied. The children sat up and stared. Officer Buckle checked to see if Gloria was sitting at attention. She was. Safety tip number 2, said Officer Buckle. Always wipe up spills before someone slips and falls. The children's eyes popped. Officer Buckle checked on Gloria again. Good dog, he said. Officer Buckle thought of safety tip he had discovered that morning. Check that out.
Never leave a thumbtack where you might sit on it, the audience roared. Officer Buckle grinned. He said the rest of the tips with plenty of expression. The children clapped their hands and cheered. Some of them laughed until they cried. Officer Buckle was surprised. He had never noticed how funny safety tips could be. After this safety speech, there wasn't a single accident. Look at Gloria. The next day, an enormous envelope arrived at the police station. It was stuffed with thank you letters from students at Napville. Every letter had a drawing of Gloria on it. Officer Buckle thought the drawing showed a lot of imagination. All those drawings. His favorite letter was written on a star-shaped piece of paper. It said, "You and Gloria make a good team. Your friend Claire. P.S. I always wear a crash helmet. Safety tip number 7. It was a very good safety tip. Officer Buckle was thumbtacking Claire's letter to his bulletin board when the phone started ringing. Grade schools, high schools, and daycare centers were calling about the safety speech. Officer Buckle, they said, our students want to hear your safety tips, and please bring along that police dog. Look at all those people calling. Officer Buckle told his safety tips to 313 schools. Everywhere he and Gloria went, children sat up and listened. After every speech, Officer Buckle took Gloria out for ice cream. Officer Buckle loved having a buddy. Then one day, a television news team videotaped Officer Buckle in the State College auditorium. Wow, look at all those cameras. Look at that auditorium, it's filled. When he finished safety tip number 99, do not go swimming during electrical storms, the students jumped to their feet and applauded. Bravo, bravo, they cheered. Officer Buckle bowed again and again. Look at Gloria. That night, Officer Buckle watched himself on the 10 o'clock news. Look at that. Look in the mirror, you can see them on the news. That's pretty cool. The next day, the principal of Napville School telephoned the police station. Good morning, Officer Buckle. It's time for our safety speech. Officer Buckle frowned. I'm not giving any more speeches. Nobody looks at me anyway. Oh, said Miss Topple. Well, how about Gloria? Can she come? Oh, Officer Buckle's a little sad. Someone else from the police station gave Gloria a ride to school. Gloria sat on stage looking lonely. Then she fell asleep. So did the audience. After Gloria left, Napville School had their biggest accident ever. Everyone's sleeping now. It started with a puddle of banana pudding. Splat, splatter, sploosh. Everyone slid smack into Miss Topple, who screamed and let go of her hammer. Oh no! Huge accident. The next morning, a pile of letters arrived at this police station. Every letter had a drawing of the accident. Officer Buckle was shocked. At the bottom of the pile was a note written on a paper star. Officer Buckle smiled. The note said, Gloria missed you yesterday. Your friend Claire. P.S. Don't worry, I was wearing my helmet. Safety tip number 7. Oh, look at that. Her helmet got hit with the hammer that the teacher drops. Gloria gave Officer Buckle a big kiss on the nose. Officer Buckle gave Gloria a nice pat on the back. Then Officer Buckle thought of the best safety tip yet. That was very nice. Safety tip number 101. Always stick with your buddy. Look at that. Always have a buddy. And then maybe you could tell the town to get me a police dog, because that'd be very nice. All right, friends, this is it for story time for today. I got my seatbelt on. I want to thank the North Reading Public Library for letting me do this. and everyone be safe out there, okay? I'll see you next time for story time. All right, here we go. Lights on.